Before we begin our class, let us have Brahmanad. Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Swastha. Good morning, children. Today, let us discuss the remaining two stanzas of the poem Daffodils by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth, as you were already informed, that he was a romantic poet. He was the lover of nature, the worshipper of nature. He was born in 1770 and passed away in 1850. And this poem, Daffodils, was published in 1815. Clear? And Wordsworth was the first poet who took birth in the Romantic age and passed away after the death of all the poets of the Romantic age, as he passed away in 1850. As you were told, there was another poet in the Romantic age, and he was no other than John Keats. And he lived a very short life. So, it is said that John Keats was last to born and first to die in Romantic age. William Wordsworth traveled with his sister Dorothy on 15 April 1802 in the countryside of England. Of course, he was in sorrowful mood after the death of his brother. So, to get some relaxation, to overcome the feelings, the sad feelings, or that feelings of melancholy after the death of his brother, he went to the Lake District of England with his sister Dorothy in order to enjoy the beauty of nature. So, while wandering, he did not have any particular place to go. He was wandering in the Lake District of England. And while wandering in the Lake District of England, like a piece of cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, all of a sudden he came across a host, a crowd, or a large number of daffodils that bloomed by the side of the lake and under the trees. And when he came across that beautiful sight of the nature, his joy knew no bound. He wanted to remain there for some time in order to enjoy the beauty of nature. How did the fluttering daffodils seem to the poet? The fluttering daffodils seemed to the poet as if they were dancing. So he compared the daffodils with the innumerable stars that shine and twinkle in the galaxy. See, the daffodils stretched in never-ending line, as they were also innumerable they were also shining like the stars that shine and twinkle in the galaxy. And the stars are also countless. They are also innumerable. They are also large in number. They are also shining and glittering. This is the reason why the poet compares the daffodils with the stars. Now, let us go through the remaining two stanzas of the poem Daffodils. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils. The waves beside them danced. See, he was standing in such a position. He could see the wave, he could see the lake. At the same time, he could also see the field of daffodils. The poet could see the waves of the lake hitting the shore. And the waves of the lake hitting the shore seemed to the poet as if they were also dancing. So standing by the side of the lake, he could see the waves hitting the shore. He could see also the flowers fluttering in the breeze. And fluttering flowers in the breeze seemed to the poet that they were also dancing. The waves hitting the shore seemed to the poet that they were dancing. The daffodils fluttering and tossing their heads in the wind also seemed to the poet that they were dancing. But the poet liked the dance of daffodils more than the dance of the waves. The waves beside them, here them refers to the daffodils. The waves beside daffodils also danced. That means the waves danced beside them by the side of the flowers or the daffodils, that golden color, yellow color daffodils. He could see the waves also were dancing, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. But here they refers to the flowers, the daffodils. Daffodils outdid. Outdid means surpassed. Outdid means outdid. Surpassed. Surpassed. Outdo, and the past tense of outdo is outdid, and the past participle form of outdo is outdone. But they outdid the sparkling or the shining daffodils, surpassed the sparkling waves in glee. This line means that the poet liked the dance of the daffodils more than the dance of the waves. He could see the waves hitting the shore, seemed to him that they were dancing. He could see also the fluttering of daffodils in the breeze. They also seemed to him that they were dancing. But the poet liked the dance of daffodils more than the dance of the waves. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid. Outdid means surpassed. The shining, sparkling means glittering or shining waves in glee. Glee means joy. Glee. Glee means joy. A poet, but could not. A poet could not but be gay. The poet was mesmerized The poet was hypnotized after coming across such a beautiful sight of the nature. He wanted to be in that place for a long time in order to enjoy that enchanting beauty of the nature. So, being a poet, he could not move an inch. He wanted to be there for a long time. A poet could not but be gay. Be gay. Gay means cheerful or in joyful mood. In such a jocund company, jocund means merry. Jocund. Jocund means merry. 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 Merry company or merry company means merry association. When he was in the joyful or merry association of the nature, he was enjoying his life. As he was enjoying his life, he wanted to be in that place for a long time. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Being a poet of nature, when he came across such a beautiful sight of the nature, he wanted to be in that place or in the midst of nature for a long time. So, that very association of nature was considered his jocund company. That means merry association. See, I am a teacher. Being a teacher, I feel myself enthralled. I feel myself privileged. I feel myself joyful when I am in the midst of my student. I don't like to roam here and there in the market, and I don't like to spend my time standing before the stalls, but I like to spend most of my time with my students, because my students, when I am in the company or in the association of my students, that gives pleasure to my heart. Similarly, being a poet of nature, when he was in the midst of nature, he wanted to be there for a long time because he enjoyed his life, he enjoyed himself. So that beautiful sight of the nature was his jocund company or merry association. Merry association. What was the jocund company for the poet? That beautiful, that enchanting beauty of the nature was the merry association or jocund company for the poet William Wordsworth. I gazed and gazed, but little thought. Here I refers to the poet himself, William Wordsworth. So what did he do? He went on gazing and gazing. Gazing means what? Looking for a long time. Gazing, staring, 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 or looking for a long time. So what did he do when he came across such a scenic beauty of the nature? And when he came across such a scenic beauty of the nature, he went on gazing and gazing, but little thought. Little, is a quantifier. As a quantifier, little gives such negative meaning. Little means no. I have little money means I have no money with me. Clear? Little is a quantifier. As a quantifier, it gives us the negative meaning. So what did he do? After coming across such a scenic beauty of the nature, he went on gazing and gazing and gazing and gazing without allowing any other thought to come to his mind. He did not allow. Little thought means but little thought. He did not allow any other thought to come to his mind, as he wanted to enjoy that scenic beauty of the nature. In fact, he was mesmerized and hypnotized by that beauty of the nature. What wealth the soul to me had brought. See, what wealth the soul. Here soul means, soul is used as a noun. Here soul means sight, S-H-O-W. Show means sight, S-I-G-H-T. So can be used as a verb, but when we write the so, here so is used as a noun. What wealth the so to me had brought. He considered that sight had brought to the poet immense wealth. Here wealth refers to the happiness, wealth refers to the pleasure. That scenic beauty of the nature had brought to him an immense wealth. Here wealth to the poet is the happiness. He was not a materialistic person. We are materialistic people. And when we get the material pleasure, when we get money or other things, we run after materials. But he was not a materialist. As he was not materialist, money did not have any importance on him. He was not after money. He was not after power. So that scenic beauty of the nature had given him what? Immense pleasure or immense happiness. Here wealth refers to happiness. He considered that scenic beauty of the nature had brought to him immense pleasure. What wealth the so to me had brought. Here, so what have you understood? Standing by the side of the lake, he could see the waves of the lake hitting the shore, and the waves of the lake hitting the shore seemed to the poet that they were dancing, and the fluttering of the daffodils in the breeze seemed to the poet that they were also dancing. So, standing by the side of the lake, the poet could see the dance of the waves and the dance of the daffodils. But he liked what? He liked the dance of daffodils, because the dance of the daffodils surpassed the dance of the waves, the dance of the shining or glittering waves joyfully or in joy, in glee. Being a poet, when he came across such a scenic beauty of the nature, he wanted to be there in order to enjoy that beauty of the nature. A poet could not but be in joyful mood or in cheerful mood, but be gay in such a jocund company. Jocund company means merry association. Here merry association, the nature has been considered for the poet as his jocund company or merry association, in such a merry association. So he went on looking for a long time without allowing any other thought to come to his mind. And he considered also that sight, that scenic beauty of the nature had brought to him immense pleasure or immense happiness or immense wealth. Now let us proceed to the last stanza of the poem. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Yes, let me tell you another thing. The last line of the second stanza, what wealth the so to me had brought. It is a metaphor. Yesterday you were told about the simile, about the metaphor, and about the hyperbole. So this line, what wealth the so to me had brought, is a metaphor. And what is a metaphor? A metaphor is also a figure of speech, where two unlike things are compared without the words as or like. But we will find an implicit comparison between two unlike things. See, what wealth the so to me had brought. The wealth that was brought to the poet, By what? By that sight. What wealth the soul to me had brought. The soul, that sight, scenic beauty of the nature, has not scenic beauty of the nature, but the wealth that was brought to the poet is called the metaphor. Clear? Now, for oft when on my couch I lie, after a long time, oft means often or many a time or many times. Oft means often. For oft when on my couch I lie, after many years, when the poet was lying on his couch means comfortable, sofa. See here I have written also couch, couch means sofa. For oft, frequently, when the poet was lying on his couch, when on my couch I lie, and you must be knowing the difference between lie. See, lie is a verb. Lie also can be used as a noun. Lie has two meanings. Lie, lie, to speak something untrue. He lied to me. He lies to me. Her, he says a lie to me. A lie. Here lie is used as a noun. Lie has two meanings. One is to speak something untrue. But here lie, L-I-E, lie means to put oneself in a resting position. It also gives us also the meaning of the word lie. Lie has two meanings. First meaning is to speak something untrue, and second meaning is to put oneself in a resting position. And when it gives us the meaning of lying oneself in a resting position, its past tense is lay, and past participle is laying, lie, lay. So for oft, when the poet was lying on his couch, either in vacant mood or in pensive mood. See, two moods of the poet are mentioned here. And what are the two moods mentioned here? They are the vacant mood or pensive mood. And what do you mean by vacant? Vacant means thoughtless. Vacant means free from thought or thoughtless mood, or pensive. And pensive means what? Pensive means thoughtful. See, two moods of the poet are mentioned in the last stanza of the poem. And what are the two moods? They are vacant mood, and second one is pensive mood. Vacant means free from thought or thoughtless, and pensive means thoughtful. So what have you understood? For frequently or often or many times, when the poet was lying on his couch, either in vacant mood or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye. Here they refers to the daffodils. That fluttering daffodils. Flash, here flash means appear. F-L-A-S-H, flash means appear suddenly. When he was lying on his couch, either in vacant or in pensive mood, the fluttering daffodils or the dancing daffodils appear that inward eye. They flash upon that inward eye. Inward eye means mind's eye. Inward eye. Inward eye means mind's eye. Or we can say imagination. Or when he recall or recollect that beautiful sight of the nature when he was lying on his couch, either in vacant mood or in pensive mood. The fluttering daffodils flash upon that inward eye. That means he recollects, he remembers that beautiful sight of the nature while lying or comforting himself, lying on his couch, which is the bliss of solitude. Bliss means perfect happiness. And remember, B-L-I-S-S, What does bliss mean? Bliss means perfect happiness, and solitude means loneliness. See, solitude is used repeatedly because he was heartbroken after the death of his brother. So he was feeling lonely as he could not overcome that grief of the situation, which is the bliss of solitude. That means when that beautiful sight of the daffodils appear to his mind or flash upon in his mind's eye or inward eye, that is considered the perfect happiness in his loneliness, which is the bliss of solitude. Bliss means perfect happiness and solitude means loneliness. So what is considered the perfect happiness in the loneliness of the poet? When that beautiful sight of the nature he could remember while lying on his couch, either in vacant mood or in pensive mood, is considered his bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills. See, then my heart with pleasure fills. Here the verb is written at the end of the line. And then my heart fills with pleasure. And when he remembers that beautiful sight of the nature, his heart fills with pleasure and dances with the daffodils. See how he was enchanted, how he was enthralled while lying on his couch, either in vacant mood or in pensive mood, and recollects that beautiful sight of the nature, how he was delighted and what happiness that scenic beauty of the nature gives to him in his loneliness is explained or expressed in the last two lines of the poem. And the last two lines of the poem also reflect the definition of the poetry made by him. What is that? A poem is defined by William Wordsworth, that is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings arising from emotions recollected in tranquility. The definition of the poetry made by him is reflected in the concluding lines of the poem Daffodils. Now, let me ask you one or two questions. When did the poet come across a large number of daffodils? The poet William Wordsworth came across while wandering all alone in the countryside of England by the side of a lake under the trees. Where did, my second question, where did the poet come across a large number of daffodils? The poet came across a large number of daffodils by the side of a lake beneath the trees. How did the fluttering daffodils seem to the poet? The fluttering daffodils seemed to the poet as if they were dancing. See, why has the poet compared the daffodils with the stars? The poet has compared the daffodils with the stars because the daffodils were also shining, glittering continuously like the stars in the galaxy. The daffodils were also large in number. They were distressed in never-ending line like the stars in the sky. This is the reason why the poet has compared the daffodils with the stars. Whose dance did he like the most? The poet liked the dance of the daffodils the most. Or you can say the poet liked the dance of the daffodils more than the dance of the waves. He liked the dance of daffodils more than the dance of the waves. What do you mean by jocund company? Jocund company means merry association of the nature, and as long as he was in the merry association of the nature, he got enthralled by that enchanting beauty of nature. My last question: what are the two moods of the poet mentioned in the poem? The two moods that are mentioned in the poem of the poet are the vacant mood and the pensive mood. So these are the two moods of the poet mentioned in the poem. We will go through the next lesson in our next video. Thank you.